Well, good morning. This is Pastor Brian Anderson, and we are talking about the subject of election again. Today, it's the motive of election, or in other words, the divine love of election. So we've already discovered that the cause of our election is the good pleasure of God's will, or the kind intention of God's will. In other words, the cause of our being chosen is not to be found within us. It is to be found within God alone. Now, today we want to move further and we want to talk about the motivating factor for God choosing his people. What was that? Well, our text in Ephesians 1:4-5 says, "In love, he predestined us to adoption as sons through Jesus Christ to himself." So what motivated God to predestine his people? It was his love. In love, he predestined us to be adopted as his sons through Jesus Christ to himself. So we could call this God's electing love. Now, God loves all of his creatures with a general love, a benevolent love. He takes care of them. He provides for them food and shelter. But yet there is a different and more special kind of love that God has for his elect, those whom he has chosen to salvation. God loves his elect with a special, discriminating kind of love, a covenant love, a saving love. I wonder if you've ever noticed how often in the Bible it couples God's election with his love. Let me just show you a few of those. Colossians 3:12. "And so as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion," and so on and so forth. Here he links, you have been chosen of God and you are beloved. 1 Thessalonians 1:4, "Knowing, brethren, beloved by God, his choice of you." There again, he links us being chosen of God with our being loved by God. 2 Thessalonians 2:13, "But we should always give thanks to God for you, brethren, beloved by the Lord, because God has chosen you from the beginning for salvation." There again, those who are chosen are beloved by God. And then we also have in Romans 1:7, "To all who are beloved by God in Rome, called as saints." Now this calling is according to his election. All those whom God elects, he effectually calls to Christ. So here again, we have God's special saving love connected to his sovereignty. Now, I know that there are many people that do believe that God loves every person in the world exactly in the same way. I don't believe that is true. I believe God has a special love for his own people, and it's different than his love for the rest of mankind. God has called me to love everyone in the world, right? He's even called me to love my enemies. He's called me to love all the women of this world. But if I were to tell my wife, "Honey, I love you exactly the same way that I love every other woman in this world. Every other woman in my church, every other woman up and down this block, I love them all exactly the same." I don't think she'd like that too well. She'd probably be offended by that because it's not true, right? There is a special love that we share that I don't share with anybody else, a covenant love that I have with her alone. And that's the kind of love that God has for his children. And he has had that kind of love from all eternity for them. And that's why he chose them, and that's why he saves them. It's this special covenant, saving, discriminating, effectual, sovereign love that God has had for his children from eternity past. Augustus Toplady put it like this: "God's everlasting love, his decree of election, and eternal covenant of redemption are the three hinges on which the door of man's salvation turns." So meditate on that today. Consider how God has loved you from all eternity and will never let you go. And that's why you were chosen, and that's why you are a child of God today. His special love for you. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.